Have you ever said something in front of your kids that to you is just something you've always said, but they heard it for the first time and they were like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
What was it?
So
Can you say it in public?
yeah, you can say it in
Okay.
public. So growing up, like my mom is still fluent in Spanish, and my dad knew a little bit, give him credit, and I learned a little bit so I took Spanish like in high school and stuff,
Right.
but I had like an ulterior motive, and I think I know where my daughter gets it now. Like I didn't take Spanish so I could learn it and speak it and like use it later in life where it would probably be beneficial. I took it to listen to what my parents and grandparents were saying, like about birthday presents and Christmas presents. I want to know what they're talking about, right? So we always have like weird like Spanish words that we always throw around. So the two things that I was the first time I got them, like they were just dying laughing, was chonies, like so that's your underwear, right? I am not a huge basketball guy. Never have been. It was one of the sports that I couldn't play. But that NBA All-Star game is an absolute joke. That thing should be taken out to the pasture, shot, put down, buried. Do whatever you need to do to it. But like I was like flipping through the channel Sunday night. I'm like, oh, All-Star game. Like I'll jump in here and watch this. No.
I don't even watch them anymore.
I'd like turn to like Telemundo and trying to watch something like trying to learn about Yavantes. I'm gonna learn about Yavantes again. I would not be a good jail guy. I don't think I would do well in jail. I'm just gonna put that out there. Like,
You'd be Will Ferrell and Get Hard.
yeah, was that with what's his name?
Kevin
Hart.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember seeing that a long time ago. Yeah, I don't know what my jail strategy would be, but I don't think I would be good in jail because
I'm not gonna sit here and act like I would be good jail material. I wouldn't either.
I don't know, dude. I think like part of me is like, okay, yeah, like you go old school jail strategy you see in the movies, go punch the biggest guy, pick the biggest fight, take your whooping, maybe you get some street cred and move on. But
I don't want to do that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
No.
I don't know if I don't know, man.
I think I think my strategy, and this is horrible we're talking about this, but my only strategy,
You gotta be prepared.
my only strategy would figure out is how do I get locked down?
Just go to the hole.
Yeah, just live the whatever time I have in the hole. So I'm not around anybody. I don't eat at the same time with anybody else. I don't get to do anything with everybody else.
You know me, man. My sports fields are my sanctuary. Like, right? Like, people are always like, dude, like, how do you coach these teams? And again, not trying to be but I love it, right? Like, that's where I can decompress. That's where I can let go of everything in the world and, like, focus on the kids and help them. And, like, that's my passion, right? So, we, being on the board of Summerlin South, right? Like, our president and our board is awesome. Summerlin South, awesome Little League, right? But like Friday night, actually Andy and I, my wife, were starting to talk about. She's like, "Dude, the weather looks nasty tomorrow." I'm looking at my weather app. I'm like, "It's not that bad. Like, how bad could it be? We don't really know, right?" And then that night, our president's like, "Guys, the weather's not looking good." And I looked at it, I was like, yeah, probably not going to get much better either. And so collaboratively, we made a decision. We're like, we got to shut this down. And we're trying to protect safety of the kids, integrity of opening day with raffle baskets. And we had, one of the Raiders coming out to throw the first pitch. And, it's a big day for someone South End. They're playing soccer on a turf field in those winds. You touch the ball like boat, it's like missile gone, right? Like you can't catch it. And then when you're going against the wind, you'd see a guy kick it. It was go like right back at him. I'm like, what are we doing here? This is not a game of skill anymore. This is literally whatever
survival
team is going is survival of the fittest. And whatever team is going with the wind, the thing was literally, as soon as you get it, just kick it and aim towards the goal and see if the wind will take it. Like, that's all that it was. And so we play our first one, and it was miserable, right? Then we come back at 2:15 to play. And we get back, and now the winds are heavier.
Right.
And it's raining. Like, so now, like, you have to have your back to the wind because it feels like pieces of glass are being, like, hailed at your face, right? And, like, I'm sure, like, people in, like, Midwest are like, you guys are a bunch of clowns. Like, 60-mile-an-hour winds won't even get out of bed, right, for that. But, like, to us, it was tornado season, right? I think it's the way that we approach our team is that, listen, if we hire somebody, I think you've said it before, too, is like, I think you've given the plane example, right? It's like, listen, when we talk to a client, typically it's one of us, talking face to face, but it's like, okay, yes, I might be the pilot. Here's my co-pilot. Okay, but also we've got an engineer that's already checked the plane. We have flight attendants to help throughout the flight. We've got maintenance crew. Like, we have a team. A plane doesn't fly just because of the pilot and the co-pilot. There's a team to get it off the ground and be safe. and go for everybody. And it's funny because you start talking about agents specifically, like I'm the best agent, blah blah blah, right? And they always think like if we're on the buying side, let's just say,
Right.
everybody thinks the listing agent is the enemy, right? Like we're out to screw them, we're out to beat them, like, and we always like why that listing agent, if like they're part of our team now. Because we need to work with them. We need to build a rapport with them.
How much would it take for Mike Tyson to punch you once in the face?
I don't know. I don't because
How much money would that cost?
you're talking a lot. Not because I would be scared to be punched in the face by him. Well, yes, I would. I would be scared to be punched in the face.
Okay, let's get that straight.
But I mean, the guy's name is Iron Mike Tyson. Like, if he like you're talking like he just gets the haul off and whoop you one.
Yeah, just one shot.
Dude, I mean, I don't know. Are we talking post-medical bills? Because, I mean, you're probably talking...
Post-medical.
Like, you're talking probably some brain damage. I mean, you're definitely knocked unconscious. You probably got some type of neck whiplash. You're definitely in CTE protocol. Like, I mean, like, you name it, one punch from Mike Tyson is, like, to an average Joe like us, one punch is giving it all of it. All of it. It's like when you go to a restaurant, like, oh, do you feel like American food, Mexican food, Italian food, right? That's like your average.
Right.
Like, but you know what? Okay, so here's my philosophy on this, is that you got guys like Kirk Cousins, who, you're right, we don't know him, right? We've never played with him, but all outside appearances are that he's a good teammate.
He's a good dude.
He seems to put the team first. He gets the job done for the most part. He's effective.
He's above average.
Exactly. He's not out there, me, look at me. Right. And I'm not saying Russell Wilson's a bad quarterback. He's obviously won a Super Bowl, right? He won with Seattle, at least one, right?
He went to 2, lost 1, won 1.
Right. That was the pick of when they wouldn't give it to the beast mode Marshawn.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So obviously he's good at quarterback. Let's not take that away from him. But somehow during his time, as he's gotten later in his career, either he failed to change. He failed to adapt to the new way of the NFL, the new coaching style, the new systems, right? And we've talked about system quarterbacks, system jobs, system agents, right?
Right.
And he's like, nope, I'm good. I'm all about, like, at the end of the day, it's results, right? Like, that's what my dad used to always tell me. He's like, ROA or ROM, right? Results, instead of ROI, ROM. Results only matter, right? And so there's times like, like even this weekend, like our boys, like, they went out, they worked, but we didn't get the results we wanted on Saturday. Sunday, we bounced back hard and played really, really good baseball, and so I was proud of them. But, I think there's sometimes that we have too much in our kids' brains, too much in our brains as adults, right? And so, like with my kids, I keep it simple, and that's not everybody's approach. And not all of us have the same skill set. Like I have great friends that have work in different industries, and maybe they can't get off to go to their kids' sports games or whatever. It's not that they don't want to; they don't love their kids. It's like, man, I got to put food on the table, and this is what my job requires me to do. I think I've just been very fortunate to be able to be around the game of baseball as long as I have, and played at a level beyond high school. There's definitely smarter people than me out there, and so I think that's where how everything has changed is that. We don't try to take people out of their game, just like agents. We can't take them and make them monster agents if our skills, if our ethics, our morals and stuff don't align to start with.
Right. And I think that the problem is you need to find a team that you align with, right? A team that's going to let you do what you do best, and a team that supports you, right?
Right.
And we're all not going to be perfect all the time. They're all going to be mistakes, but we learn from them, and that's in business too, right? We join a team or we're part of a team that's going to help us. Because that's at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do is help people get to the next level.
And I think like going back to your comment is like reviewing our systems, how to get better, how to become more efficient. So a lot of people they'll go to, and I was guilty of it when I first started. I went to every training there was. I wanted every platform there was. And I wasn't doing any business. Right? Like this, I expected the phones to ring. I've gone to these classes. Like people like on our end, we're looking at it like, what has really changed?
I think the biggest thing is, I've been doing this for 10 years or the last 15 years, where I'll sit and talk to a buyer, and I'll break down what I'm making.
Right.
A lot of people want to keep it hush hush. They don't want people to know.
Right.
And I think that is the issue.
Yes.
Is people don't want to be transparent.
Yes.
I don't mind being transparent.
Yes.
This is what I make. This is how I do it. Now, just like it's always been, you can go unrepresented and you can do whatever you think you want to do. But how's that working out with players that, in football that are unrepresented.
Yes, and I think that is a great example. It's like we have to do our jobs,
Right.
Right? Like, oh my gosh, God forbid you go to work and work. Like everybody else that I know that is an adult that goes to work, they get paid.
Right.
Like we always talk, we love talking sports because there are so many things that overlap and so many
Right.
people understand sports. And I mean, you started rattling off stats. How
Right.
many Super Bowls has he won?
0.
Like division championships has he won?
Division, I don't know, but NFC
Oh,
championship,
NFC
0.
championships, right? Conference
Right.
championships, whatever, right? Playoff wins,
1.
okay, one.
One in the last 10 years or something.
Right?
It's
So
ridiculous.
you take a guy like that who obviously has a skill set. He has something that people value. And in our industry, a seller has a home, a buyer needs a home, right? They both have needs that you need to build.
Right.
Kirk Cousin he has a value and he needs to be able to get paid to use it, right?
Correct.
So what does he do? He has two options. Just like anybody else selling their home or buying their home, he can be like, cool. I'm going to call up all 32 teams, set a meeting and go and just try to sell myself, just like a for sale by owner would be, or a buyer can go represent themselves. That has never changed. You can do it in football. You can do it in real estate.
in anything.
Agents like us, sports agents like that, they perform in different levels. And so now this connotation where media has spun is like, oh, you don't need a buyer's agent. You can do it. Like, you've always been able to do it. But people elect to hire professionals that bring value, like that word that you talked about before. Now, what are we going to see? How maybe the biggest change here is you're going to see all your weekend warriors. See you later.
Right.
The people that were doing it for their passion on the weekend. You weren't doing it for the passion on the weekend. You're trying to supplement income because you thought it was an easy industry because the market has changed. It's an always evolving market.
Right.
And, you had a friend that was going to sell. So all you had to do was put it on the market. You were going to get paid X, Y, Z. And it is what it is. Now, okay, a buyer's agent is going to have to be like, hey, you want to know why you hire me? Because Kirk Cousins, I just got you 4 years for $180 million. Who wants part of that? And every quarterback is like, hook me up with some of that Kirk Cousins money, right?
It's like, let me focus on one.
Yes.
And let me get you what you want.
Yes.
Like, that's what they do. So whether it's a sports agent, whether it's a real estate agent, whether it's a salesperson doing another job, there's a reason why they do it.
Well, and to your point, I love the fact that you brought up like price, right? Like people always think like, oh, my agent saved me this on price. Okay, but what did that do? Okay, because like most people are not educated by their buyer's agents to be like, okay, let's say we get you $10,000 in a drop of price. That 450 property, we got you at 440. What if I were to tell you, we run the numbers, we meet with your lender, and we take that 10 that we pay for the 450, but we get the seller to give you 10,000 to help buy down your rate.
Then now your monthly's cheaper.
Now my monthly cash flow is way more maybe conducive to my lifestyle that I needed because I needed an extra $150, $200 a month.
Right.
Where that $10,000 off the price, oh, sounds good. We knocked 10 grand off. Okay, so what? You changed your monthly payment by $6? It's the same way. Like we talk about everybody's style, everybody's value, right? Like, and everybody is different, but that's okay because listen, I am in more of a, I don't want to say casual, but
Right.
I'm my style of golf shirts and t-shirts. I'm not talking like gardening t-shirts.
Right.
I like to wear a hat. Sometimes I talk like that's my my Superman cape, right? Like sometimes I put on that cap and I don't know if it makes me feel like I'm on the ball field or something. I'm like, all right, like I got literally and figuratively, I got my go to work cap on, right?
Right.
You sometimes hey, listen,
I like the suit.
You're not afraid to put on a suit and a jacket, get that tie working, get that tie clip working. You like, look at this, the color coordination. Listen, I'm not bad on my color coordination, but two different styles, two different ways sometimes we go about things, but they each work for us. And behind the scenes, morally, ethically, we're very much aligned, even though I don't wear a tie.
It's never been, hey, let me give you a list of everything I do. It's always been more of, let me provide value. Let me show you what I do for you. And if you don't want to work with me, like all the buyer brokers that I've signed, all of them I've always written on the back of on the additional terms, an email cancels this agreement.
Sure.
Right? And that's it. All I need is an email saying, hey, I don't want you to represent me anymore.
Yep.
And I'm good.
Well, we can write a contract. Would you want me to go into the courtroom and defend you? Like, would you defend yourself? Yeah, you can sell your house by yourself. You can buy a house by yourself. At the end of the day, yes, attorneys can write a contract. But when you start to get into the value, and I think that's the misconception, is once you agree on a price and you write the contract, it's all smooth sailing. It's like, okay, I want to see that attorney get in, schedule their home inspection, review the home inspection, sit and write a request for repairs, because there's your next negotiation. You might get $10,000 off on the list price, but what are you missing in your repairs? You could go get your client another $5,000-$10,000 worth of repairs that you don't have to pay for, which is cash you save, right? You've got appraisal contingencies. What happens when the appraisal comes in low? Right? Is the attorney jumping back into, and it's not a knock on attorneys, but like that's the kind of thing that they say, and that's and that's what the people are saying is like, I think a lot of people think once you write the contract, the agent's job is done. Now, I had that thought when I first started from a license side. I was like, holy crap, like nobody should hire me. Right? Like I wouldn't hire me to represent me. Like I don't barely know how to write the contract. Right.
Right.
And so, like I just poured into education, and I guess in a sense, I kind of did go the apprenticeship role with the production coach that we had here at the time. That was absolutely amazing, that she helped put me on the right trajectory. And then I fell into a great relationship with you, who you kind of picked up where she left off and be like, follow me, little buddy. Right. But
Young Padawan.
Yeah. But it comes back to it. And I think that's going to be the ongoing problem, is that if you're new in this industry, you're going to have to cut your teeth somewhere, and it's going to need to be probably with a team or an apprenticeship, because just like you said, like with a lawyer, no, I don't know any lawyers that have been like past the bar. They're like, cool, when's my first trial? Like, I don't want you to represent me with your first trial.
I mean, what is it?
Dodgers, we're switching into baseball. Shohei is interpreter. We got ourselves a situation.
Oh yeah.
So
well, I'm concerned now, because at first they said that Shohei paid for it.
Right.
Now they're backing off, saying that he didn't, and the money was stolen from him. Because last time I checked, the baseball is the only one that enforces like lifetime bans. Like they want you out of this place.
I'm like, Pete Rose got kicked out, and he was betting for his team to win, not even against them. Like, I feel like
supposedly they weren't betting on baseball.
Yeah, supposedly that's right. But man, like, so I got mixed emotions on this one. I'm like, Dodgers, suck it, right? Like, you backed up.
I can tell you're not a Dodgers fan.
I'm not a fan that tries to buy championships. Like I'm more of a dirtbag. Get your face dirty, get in the dirt, get in the mud kind of baseball player, right?
I can be your interpreter, and I have access to your bank account, and I can steal $4.5 million from you.
And now it's coming out like he didn't work for so and so. He never went to this. You said he like went to like what, UC Riverside or Irvine or something like that, or like I don't know.
But one of the things, like, how does an interpreter have access to your $1 million bank account?
That's what I'm saying. There's got to be some type of backup plan, contingency, like two-finger system. Like, hey, like you got a key, I got a key. When we turn them at the same time and click our heels twice, like the bank account gets unlocked. How can one guy go in there to somebody like a Shohei and be like, and move some like $500,000 away? Like
I know that. So I have investors, right? I do commercial, obviously, and I have investors that wire upward of 500,000, right? But they can never do it online. They always have to physically go to a bank when it's moving larger amounts of money.
Sure,
they can't do it online. I didn't know that you didn't know that Patrick was my good friend.
Patrick Bet-David, what is he? Can we add him to the list of best friends of the show?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So
he's up there with Pat McAfee and
coming out of Pat McAfee camp, I only know of him. Although a big sports fan, I didn't really know of Vontae Davis until Pat McAfee used to talk about him a lot from the Colts. Sad day, man. They found him.
That was a sad day.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was sad. 35 years old.
Man, and you just start to think like, in some of this stuff is like, you just start to think what goes into it. Like, and obviously they haven't come to all the conclusions, and who knows what it'll be. I read something that they didn't suspect foul play or something. So God forbid, he made a decision, but it's like, man, these football players and in all sports, like you put everybody on these giant pedestals, and like the pressure that comes with it. I mean, you look at, what was it, Simone Biles, the gymnast, right? Like these mental, like you just think they're invincible, or they should be able to handle it. They're famous. They must have it so easy. So if you think about it, if you could do something in your day to streamline it, become more efficient, and free up 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day is not a big deal. 5 minutes over 2 days, 10 minutes. Over a 5-day work week is 25 minutes. Over a month, you're talking about 100 minutes. So you are talking like these small minutes, you can compound them and pick up a little over an hour a week, right?
A month.
A month, sorry, a month. See, man, math. I got way ahead of myself, right? So you pick up a little over an hour a month.
Right.
Although it doesn't seem significant, that's 12 hours in a year. So you, just by efficiently creating 5 more minutes of availability in a day, you've created over 12 hours of free time in a year, right? Which is, close to a 2 days worth of work, depending on who you are.
Right.
Right? What could you do with 12 more hours a day? In a year. Could you prospect more? Could you get some more content out? Could you deliver some? Could you
Read a book?
Right? I have a theory on that. And I think Kid Rock said it best, one of the great poets of our generation.
Awesome.
It's not cocky if you can back it up. Right?
Okay.
He did.
There you
That's
go.
what he said.
There you go.
Right? So I think like playing the game, I played baseball into college and stuff. And so like, at a certain point, I think you have to have a switch where you have like an alter ego. Like I truly believe that you have to have a persona where like when you step onto the field, it's like, dude, this alter ego takes over. Like you have to step on the field and think you are the greatest player on the court, right? Like you have to be that tough girl. You have to be that tough guy. I think for Joe Burrow, he's like, okay, I've got to be that charismatic, swaggy. That's what he hides. I shouldn't say hides behind, but like that's kind of the character that he's developed into. And
that's what I was thinking. Like I said, that kind of persona doesn't rub me the right way.
Right.
Because I've been like, maybe it's because of my age and the generation I was part of, and it wasn't all this flamboyant stuff. And then now it's a lot about that, right? Because everybody has their social media, everybody has their podcasts, everybody's doing all these things, and it's like, hey, yeah, look at me. So now it's different, but I think that. So I was like, hey, you know what? But then watching that, and even the first time when I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I watched it again, and I've watched it a couple times since, the highlights of this, and I'm like, and I've heard her like have a conversation with like a reporter at LSU or somebody that was part of the LSU program, just asking like random questions like, what do you like for dinner? What do you like to do? And just listening to her tone down and have a regular conversation and not be that hyped up girl.
Yeah.
I was like, man, maybe I misjudged that. Maybe I did. And
I'm more of a passive aggressive coach. Like I'm like, hey, Blue, no, I'm sure it was a great call. It bounced. So I don't understand how it was a strike, but no, I'm sure you were right. Bouncing is going to be a strike. And my wife was like, oh, okay, guy, shut it down, right? But I'm a passive aggressive guy, right? But it's like every now and again, you got to flare off and be like, okay, here's where I make my stand. And you just got to go balls to the wall and earn it. Like my buddy with him was like, dude, if you're going to go, you got to turn around and go back and earn it. I was like, yeah, you're right. And I went right back out there and I'm like, you know what? I'm not done. And I let him have it, right? And he was terrible. And everybody agreed, but the energy started to pick up, And so, I go to that stuff. Sometimes you need someone to do something that maybe is not their normal character. But, you got to start a fire sometimes, man.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just, I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. And I could be wrong. I'm like, how could you go play a full-on street basketball game and then 2 hours later, you're in a boxing match? Like, how do you do that? He was a stud. So I'm curious how she does playing there and then all of a sudden move over there. Wow. It's kind of like us. How do we transition from being a buyer's agent and taking care of the buyer and understanding that, and then transitioning into a seller's agent?
Sure.
And now taking care of a seller, which is, you have two completely different hats on. You're doing two completely different things.
Oh, for sure.
So then how do you do that? Well, how do you do it effectively?
And you know what I think it's nice about that is that it's like if you work in, you work for a certain industry and then you become an advocate against it, like the holes of it.
Right.
So it's like when you're a buyer's agent, you understand, like, we've talked about it. Like last year I was seller heavy, this year buyer heavy. Last year you were buyer heavy, this year seller heavy. But it's like, now that you see like both sides and we work them so much, it's like, yeah, when you're a buyer, you're like, okay, I know what I would want from a listing.
That didn't stop. Like you kept finding somebody until you found somebody. You kept looking and going through, turning over every rock to figure out, hey, who can I get to do this repair for this client? Because it's important to him.
Right.
And you got it done.
Well, and I think that's the same reason why, we always talk, and, I think you got a couple new listings coming up, and I started asking them, always like, man, where'd you get these? What's going on? Referral, past client, referral, past client. Like, one of my buyers I'm working with now, past client. And I think that just speaks to the volume of the way that we operate. It's client first, us second. And if you go in that order, typically things work out good for you. Okay, I have a question. I know we're going to be almost out of time here, but so we closed on a rental property for clients, an investment property, and so the conversation became, and I think this is a good opportunity to educate some people as more and more people are thinking, what do I want to do with my money? Right? I got some extra money. Do I want to invest it in the stock?
What we did is one of the things was interesting, right? So, what do you think they do differently in practice than a lot of other teams?
I say they go with like some more of like a scrimmage, more getting more reps, like game style reps.
Okay. Granted, I'll give you that.
Okay. Okay.
They practice against boys.
Okay.
They practice
Okay.
against men.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Their practice squad that they practice against is so integral that when they win national championships, the guys get rings.
Really?
Yeah. It's to
Okay.
them, it's a
Okay.
number one thing. Like, you practice. So, first of all, I think that gives anybody a competitive edge when you're practicing against competition that's bigger, stronger, faster.
Sure, 100%.
Right? Not to knock the women, but like they had, like seeing a 6'7" player in the NBA is
Well, I think it's one of those things that, like I keep hearing you say team and consistency and like, and you have a game plan, right? So it's like when we go for, in real estate, it's like you have a game plan. You know what the team is. You have to be consistent in what you do, whether that's prospecting, whether it's open houses, whether it's content, being at the right place at the right time. Like, you got to continue to do that. And everybody has to know their role. And for, you start to look at these big teams, whether it's football, baseball, basketball. I mean, I still go back to the Padres of last year, right? They go add Juan Soto, they got Machado, they got Tatis, they got Bogarts, they add all these big players and they have a great team name. You look at the Dodgers had a stacked roster last year too.
right.
But for some reason, they don't stay consistent, and injuries, get all that stuff. But it's like, what was their plan? Was their plan just to go out and be like, hey, we're going to buy the best players and put them all on one team and we should be good, right?
So I think it's that thing. It's the culture, the iron sharpens iron. We're not like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not going to share information with you.
Sure.
I'm not going to. It's more of a, hey, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do if we come for you?
But here's the whole thing is that like, so it's almost like a collaborative competition, right? Because like we could easily just sit up there and be like, oh yeah, look at all. Well, it's okay if Willow Manor comes up and passes us because we're still ahead of like 8 other teams, every other team in the office, right?
Right.
Like, look at that team's only done that, right?
Right.
So there's that culture, right? So you go back to that baseball, Detroit, Chicago. It's okay, we won a few games, but we're still above.
If we just stay number 2, we're good.
We're still above the city. We're still above where the city thinks we should be. So it's fine, right? But it's like, and that's where the difference takes place. That's the difference in your South Carolina basketballs. That's why you see Alabama continue to be towards the top. You hear these public figures always talk about, show me your inner circle. Show me your 5 friends, your inner circle. Show me those core people, and I'll show you where you're going to go.
Right.
Right? Like, I was watching one that's like, you would see your bums. Like, if your friends are bums, you're going to be an effing bum. You're a bum, right? So it's like, surround your inner circle with the people like Willow Manor, the Keys Group. Those are people that you look, that's a good inner circle because they're high producing, they're intelligent, they think things through, right? You don't want to go out and be like, oh, yeah, let's go hang out with those guys down there, right? SC didn't want to be like, hey, let's go hang out with the Fresno State. Let's go hang out with Sacramento State. Like,
right.
Again, no offense to any of those schools or programs, whatever, but SC wants to hang out with Georgia, Alabama,
Michigan.
Texas, Michigan, right?
Ohio State.
So at some point, you have to understand, is like, listen, like you said, you might have to take your lumps and you might be a small fish for a while. But if you want to go play with the big dogs, you got to surround yourself with the big dogs.
Right.
Or else, go play in the Mountain West. Congratulations. What gives? Like, can you not have both? Why not?
Yeah.
And I know it's easier said than done, of course,
right.
but
But your culture has to be what you want it to be, right?
Yes.
And you can't have culture killers, and you can't have people that are going to be negative and bringing your culture down. You just need to be, you need to have the right mix of people in your culture. And then not only that, the people that you associate with, like you said, right? Like the other teams we associate with, we don't necessarily associate with other people that aren't that their culture sucks.
Right.
We want their culture's fun, right? Their culture's fun. They're competitive. They want to be number one. They want to come at us, and it keeps your team enthused. It keeps your team going. It keeps you guys going. Like it keeps everybody in a level where you want to compete to be number one.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to be. I just want to be number one.
Think about that. I don't know. Numbers. Everything is about numbers. Real estate, sport, everything you can tie back, and that's why
everything gets always brought back to numbers.
And that's why it's like when you go through school and stuff like that. Like I don't know. I think math was always my favorite subject, and even though I still use my fingers and stuff, like it's like, but it's
when you run out of toes is when we got a problem,
right? It's like when I start taking my shoes up, but it's like there's always a right answer. It's not like yes, opinions are great, this or that are great, but like math and numbers are like matter of fact. So like. Like you start to get to that number, and like if you take it at face value, so based on what the draft is saying, just like the market value, what is your home worth? Whatever someone's willing to pay for it. I can't tell you exactly what it's until you accept an offer and it closes. Well, that's what your home's worth, right? So according to the WNBA, she was the 24th best player available to be drafted.
Correct.
According to the WNBA.
Correct.
That's wild to me to think.
So, did they list with you? Because of your experience, you're dominating in the field, because you're the best? Or did they list with you because they knew you and they said, you know what, I know he has the potential to do a good job. I'm willing to take a chance on him.
Well, first of all,
I'm just
asking. Potential, they knew I was the right guy. There was not potential. Okay, bro.
No,
I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there was obviously people with more experience, but the way that I went into that appointment, I don't think anybody would have had a clue what my experience level was. The way that I presented myself and carried myself, the question never came up. The question never came up. How many houses have you sold? How long have you been in the industry? How long, but to your point, they hired me based on me, my character, what I was saying, how I presented everything, my strategy that I laid out.
But to the point, we don't follow it. We weren't following it in the past. I know that we went a couple years ago to a game because my daughter was playing basketball, and we got signing of a trophy, of a poster and stuff like that, and my daughter still has that poster hanging in her room now.
Candace Parker?
I don't know.
I think I saw
You're asking me all these questions.
I saw her in the playoffs. I don't know. Maybe she's not. Okay, we're going to get committed to be better. This is going to be the home, though. Taking over the world, the home of the Las Vegas Aces. We're going to be the Aces experts. We're going to go all in.
Well, at least we have. I
mean, we are 2-time defending champs.
I know. It's
this
bad.
Is Sports City. This
it is
Sports City.
Yeah, we just need to get our football team to win, and then hopefully when the baseball team comes.
I don't know. I talked to an inside source that he's adamant that it's all smoke and mirrors. They're not coming. He says they're going to get wheeled and dealed away. So you talk about exposure, and that's one thing that we've been really big on this year is like more exposure, and sometimes.
Well, it depends on what you expose.
It's also a good point. We're not trying to go to jail or get license revoked. Yes, let's keep that, and it's a good point. You can never be too careful. But we've been talking about more content and new school advertising and way of doing business and old school and combining the traditional marketing with the new marketing, and sometimes it's that exposure where it takes that group effort, and we're attached with the podcast. It brings in the exposure to real estate. It brings in this, people get to learn about us, and sometimes it's not always about your play. Like in her case, maybe she's not the highest scorer on the team, but she got exposed and got that exposure to get drafted. And, with us, with more content, people get to know us a little bit. And it's not always just because we did some monster deal, not just because, you had a commercial deal for. And yeah, the thing is that listen, and real estate, that's the one thing is that, yes, you have the freedom, but you also have, the responsibility that with great freedom comes great responsibility, right?
All right, Spider-Man.
You got to answer your phone. I've answered my phone at third base before, right?
Have you?
Yeah. I'm like, hey man, I don't worry about this, but I'm gonna call you back. And they're like, oh, hang up on me. I'm like, no, hey, it's good. We're in between innings, but we'll be fine, right? But yeah, in office hours, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to make a strong commitment to make sure I leave the building before I have to push the green button to get out. And I enter the building after it's already been unlocked, lights turned on, so that I don't have to use my key fob to get in.
Are you afraid to be here, maybe walk around alone or something?
No,
Does it remind you of Five Nights at Freddy
I don't even
and the
know.
Talking Bears? And
I don't watch horror movies. No thanks.
What? Oh, you're
I'm
afraid.
out. I'm out.
You're out.
I'm out. And I'm in the shower and I hear the same thing. Boom. And like I hear the same thing. And then my wife comes around the corner. She's like, did you hear that? I'm like, yeah. Like, are we being robbed again? Like this is the worst. She's like, is that the sound you heard that one night? I'm like, yes. She's like, when you're done, you should just come out here. I'm like, so I can talk to the burglar? Like, did you wrangle him and tie him up as he's zip tied in our living room? Like, what is? All right, let's go.
Let's go.
Right?
Let's do this.
And then she like goes over by the closet, right by the front door where I heard the loud bang. She opens it again, and I hear boom, and I drop like we're like what?
Oh, they're coming now.
Like what? Is he in the closet? What is happening? And there's the biggest thing of commercial saran wrap that you get from like Home Depot or something to wrap up clothes in packages that I've ever seen. And she goes, what you heard was, I guess I had put the big old thing of saran wrap, which is...
Laughter was the way to go.
Man, you know what, though? I've always been a fan of laughter. Laughter cures a lot of things. You have to be able to willing to laugh at life events. You have to be willing to laugh at yourself, I feel like.
I do it all the time.
It is what it is.
It is.
I'll tell you what's not funny.
What?
This weekend, I feel like the sun just like, it was like, hey, we're winter. Here's a little spring. Rain and hail. Here's a little spring. Wind and cold, like, right? And then this weekend was just like, summer's like, I got you. Here I am. I feel my foot at the top of the stairs. And I'm pretty sure-footed. Like, I am not as clumsy when it comes to, like, I mean, I have fallen in a rose bush. We've already talked about that. So I guess my track record is not great.
Right, we've talked about that.
But I'm pretty sure-footed, right? And I feel my right foot go. And like all in like, it felt like 30 seconds. Like it's someone said, oh, this is not good. This is not good. And all I hear and feel is dum, 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 dum. Right? And I go down about 6 stairs. And I just,
that's gotta be great.
Oh, dude. So it's like, it's like when you're snowboarding or if you've ever been snowboarding, it's like, when you fall in that tailbone, like that doesn't feel great.
No.
And
you didn't tell me about this, dude.
No. Yeah, stories just come to me like my life. I'm gonna write a book, right? So I hit this blanket. I look back because I'm like, I did not just fall, just to fall, right? Like there was either somebody tripped me, there was like an Oompa Loompa up there, like a sniper. Somebody is up there with a draw, like pulling that string. I don't just fall. I want to retire.
You want to retire?
Yeah, I want to retire and just like patrol the neighborhood in my golf cart and go play some. Okay, I was asking.
No,
somebody
hold on, because
okay.
my kids. See, everybody has an opinion of you, right? It's just funny how everybody has a different opinion or an outlook on you. But I would say that probably 90 to 95% of the people that know me well would say that if I retire, I would die. They don't say anything else. Like, you know how a lot of people are like, oh, you and your spouse spend so much time that if she died, you're gonna die. They don't talk about that. They're all like, if you stop coming to the office, you'll just die. Like even my brother says that to me. Like,
that was like my dad.
You're gonna die. Like you just have to keep going to the office. You can get sick. Anything could be wrong with you. It doesn't matter because you're at the office.
Yeah. That was like my dad. Always had to be doing something.